will be there in perpetuity without a problem except. Wait a minute, Gray, not so fast. Because we have this first group that are going to be receiving money, and increasingly fewer people are going to be contributing to this pay-and-go system. Where are you going to come up with the money to take care of that? Separate subject. The federal government today owns millions and millions and millions of acres in basically the 16 western United States. The Bureau of Land Management. In California, they own something in the order of 42 million acres in California alone. The federal government in Nevada, I think they take the cake. The federal government owns 92% of the land in Nevada. Alaska is almost as bad, about 90% of the land. All of the property maintained and overseen by the Bureau of Land Management, for example, would be taken and divided in tenths. So 1/10 will be auctioned off to the highest bidder every year for the next 10 years. Now, I'm not talking about national parks, I'm not talking about national forests, military, forget all of that. We're just talking about the Bureau of Land Management. Let me ask you a question, very important. Who takes better care of a house, an owner or a renter? An owner. Why? Because if it goes down in value, deteriorates, the owner ends up losing value of his property. Same question. Who takes better care of raising land, an owner or a lessee? Particularly at the end of the lease, the lessee has no particular vested interest in not overgrazing the land. You might as well plunder it because you're going to lose the land pretty soon anyway. The owner takes better care. Therefore, we will have people that will, grazing lands or some forest lands or the rest, they will take better care of it than the federal government is now. We'll stop all of that administrative costs. And by the way, they'll also start paying property taxes to the states. We will put that money into this fund. It will be a lockbox, this one-time deal, and it will save Social Security. Okay? That's what I would do. I haven't even discussed that with Governor Johnson. I did write a column on it last week in the Los Angeles Daily Journal. I'm committed. That's what I would do, and I'm comfortable with it. Yes? Sir?
Could you elaborate on your policy on higher education, especially with regard to the bloated cost of higher education?
Yes. Higher education. We have a problem. And the problem is student loans. Mr. Obama is extremely adept at using public monies, federal monies, to buy votes. He's pandering to people. He's pandering to you, in my opinion. Student loans. You were saying, oh, those mean conservatives, they're going to take my student loan and they're going to increase it. I don't know what the percentages are. From 3% where it is now to the market rate of 6%, ain't it awful? Look at all the extra money I'm going to owe. The problem is, again, kind of like health care, if you have a third-party payer, you have the loan, in effect, guaranteed by the government. So the cost is not the issue. Because you are not paying it, at least not now, you will soon. But you're not paying it, so cost is not that much of a factor. I venture to say that here at Tulane, that the cost of your tuition has gone up in the last 5 years. Yes? Why? Because you're not paying it. That means that the cost goes up. Wouldn't you rather actually end up having a student loan at 3% of 6% at $15,000 than 3% at $50,000? That's the problem. It's the government. The government should not be involved in this at all. How many of you as students in the last 6 months have received an application for a credit card? Sure. Do you have a job? No, but you're a good credit risk. Shell Oil Company or Visa or whatever thinks you're a good credit risk. They want to give you credit. They'll also give you a student loan, assuming that you're responsible, you're making good grades, you're a good risk. Get the government out of it completely. The cost of tuition will come down, just like in healthcare, because now you're going to be competitive. You're going to be talking to the registrar saying, that's too much money, I'm going to go to Smith University instead of Jones. So that's part of the problem. Wes?
Can you say a few nice things about Ron Paul and maybe compare your policies?
Sure. Governor Johnson and I went to Tampa. We went to speak to Freedom Fest, or Paul Fest, I mean. Why? Because we're in the same family. In so many ways, Ron Paul has won this election. I just tip my cap to him all day long. He has mainstreamed this whole approach of libertarian values, financial responsibility, social tolerance. He put them in the mainstream. So I embrace him, and he has his place in history. But he will always kind of have that beacon of liberty in his hand, in my views. But the torch of liberty has been passed to Governor Gary Johnson. And it's taken Ron Paul a long time. He started basically as a libertarian candidate for president in 1988, if I remember correctly, and stuff. And he's been doing this ever since. And he's built this up, and thank him forever. But now, you know, there is a major difference between Ron Paul and Governor Gary Johnson. Because Governor Johnson's going to be on the ballot in November, and he isn't. But I really admire him. We are in the same family with regard to Ron Paul supporters. I think I saw a couple of Ron Paul shirts here earlier. I've seen them most of the day, and hooray for that. We are in the same family. We have the same values. Once again, we'll agree on the major things. There may be a couple of minor things that we don't. But honestly, I don't even agree with me all the time. People just don't always agree. I had a question. Yes.
Hi, I'm
Take two more questions, and then I'll be the last one to leave tonight.
Excuse me, Judge, we got media in 10 minutes.
I have a radio show in
One
10
more
minutes.
question.
I saw.
Two more questions.
She's tough. She's also wonderful. Yes, sir.
I'm the Secretary of Philosophy Club. I helped put this night together. But I don't like the way that you addressed this question earlier. To me, it seems that the Libertarian Party has a bit of an anti-intellectual streak to it. All of these reforms come across almost as authoritarian, which is the dichotomy that y'all are trying to set up. So I guess I'd like to give you the opportunity to maybe apologize. I think that there's something wrong with the way that you responded to what I said sort of legitimate.
To his question?
Yes, his question.
Do you believe I owe you an apology for my response to your question?
It's free speech, but I set you up for, it was a loaded statement and I wanted a response. I was trying to draw on the Jeffersonian principle, which you said, you wrote the Declaration of Independence and said whenever people is denied rights to dissolve the political bans. And what I was alluding to was that with your policies, with your budget cut, would put people in the streets and overrun the government.
I don't think.
And I want to know how you would respond to that after citing Thomas Jefferson.
Well, okay. I think I respond. I can't think of a change in my response. I didn't mean to be disrespectful. I think that we have problems here. I don't, and I said, and I will continue to say, I believe in a safety net for people. I care about people. I'm not going to put our position such that people are going to be rioting in the streets.
Isn't the safety net government? Isn't that?
Yes, it is.
That's socialism.
Yes, it is.
There we go. You got your answer.
To some degree. Look, okay, all right, let me go to healthcare for a minute, because that's probably going to feed right into what you're believing. Government has made a mess of healthcare. When I was growing up, geez, it's taking me too long. When I was growing up in the 50s, up